Welcome back to the channel where I go and actually drop reviews on new streaming content on the streaming platforms. And then I go and actually tell you my recommendations up front. Then you stay tuned to see if it's what you like. Today we're going to go ahead and actually review Ironheart. Now, Ironheart is a show that is an MCU production. So the influences of this particular show are Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Black Panther, and a little bit of Miss Marvel. Now, I'm going to tell you if this is worth your time as a target audience or even as a casual viewer. And then you hang out a little longer to see if I can legitimize my regular guy opinion. For target audiences, and by target audiences, I'm thinking about fans of the MCU, fans of sci-fi, and if you are a fan of Afrofuturism. If you are any of those fans, I'm going to go and actually suggest that you watch the first 2 episodes of Ironheart. Conversely, for casual viewers, and none of those particular genres are of your interest, I'm going to suggest of 2 different things on here. Normally, I would probably go ahead and actually suggest that you just watch 1 episode. However, if you're only committed to watching 1 episode of this particular show, then you just skip it altogether. But if you do have any inclination, I suggest that you do go ahead and actually watch a little bit of this. You're going to go ahead and actually watch the first 2 episodes as well. I know, seems a little convoluted for me to go and actually go that route, but I am going to go ahead and actually justify it. So stay tuned.
What would you say if someone were to create AI using brain scanning technology? Oh my God, I'm literally perfection.
I would say only an idiot with a death wish would try that.
Cool.
Riri, you created something great. We're gonna need it.
Ironheart is a superhero adventure coming of age show that premiered on Disney Plus in June of 2025. The first season has 6 episodes that run about 35 minutes each, and it stars Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, and the young actress is actually credited in Black Panther Forever and Judas and the Black Messiah. Also starring Anthony Ramos as Parker Robbins. His credits include playing in Hamilton and Transformers Rise of the Beast. And then the last one is Lyric Ross as Natalie, and she's probably best known for playing Deja Pearson on This Is Us. Genius teenage inventor Riri Williams creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. So that's the premise on here. And I will go and actually tell you that an MCU superhero show, I was going to watch it anyways. It didn't really matter. That's just my thing on there. But also the Wakanda connection is good. Definitely have to go ahead and actually watch that. Now, even though the character didn't really stand out in Wakanda Forever, I'm kind of figuring that having Ryan Coogler involved in this one actually makes a difference and makes me a little bit more intrigued to go and actually watch the series. Now, one of the things that could have given me pause in watching this and kind of being like a target audience for this is that it has lesser known actors. I'm kind of one of those types of people that I'm not usually on board with the young, unproven actors. A little biased that way. I'm always, it kind of depends on actually having somebody older within these various different scenes on there that you could really go ahead and actually help direct and kind of help the younger actors along or what have you. So while a few of these folks actually have some credits behind them, not a whole lot of work and definitely not a whole lot of major work, but it kind of gave me pause on this one to go ahead and actually figure out the target audience. But let's just be real about it, because the MCU factor has the Wakanda effect on there. I am pretty much the target audience for this type of show. And the reason why you should always know that is because you know me. I go ahead and actually am a big subscriber to knowing what bias that your reviewer has when they're giving you recommendations or what have you. So I gave my bias up front so that you can kind of know that when you go ahead and actually take into account my recommendations. If you like how that sounds, do me a favor, click like, share, subscribe. And now let's get into it.
When I got back from Wakanda, I felt stuck. To bring my ideas to life, I need cash.
Crazy, gotta go crazy. Come work for me.
I assume these jobs aren't exactly legal.
Not exactly. So you in or out?
We Ocean's 11 to The Sopranos.
So for storytelling for Ironheart, I'm going to go ahead and actually describe that this was somewhat entertaining. My scale on how I go and actually judge films and shows and things like that has kind of gradually changed over the time. really, instead of me trying to grade things out, I am actually going to go into the realm of entertaining, because that's really what it is. It's subjectivity, right? And for me, go ahead and actually just give you my opinion. Really just letting you know if it was entertaining, if it was kind of entertaining, it was kind of boring, whatnot, things like that. I think that'll give you a little bit more connection. Getting back to it is that Ironheart in and of itself, for me being a target audience member, it is somewhat entertaining. Not completely, but has a little bit. Now, if I base this recommendation off of episode 1, it would be incredibly boring, and I would have to go and actually shut it all down, because there was no inciting event in episode 1. The characters were given no real context or motivations for what they were doing, and the dialogue was blah. So all of that being said, on there, episode 1, it was just like, no go. Now, where episode 1 ends off and then episode 2 begins is where it starts to get interesting. From the reintroduction of the Natalie character and the back and forth with her and Riri and their characters is the heart of episode 2, and what I think will be the heart of the series going forward. I also get a bit tired on, and you kind of see it definitely in episode 1. It was a component, but still in episode 2 as well, is that one of the things that kind of grates on me in the MCU is the aspect of how many different geniuses are there in the MCU. I mean, Tony Stark and David Banner and Riri Williams and Letitia's right character, Shuri. Then there are various different, obviously they're introducing Fantastic Four in there. So you know that Reed Richards is going to be a genius. You got Doctor Doom at some point. He's going to go ahead and actually be a genius. And there are probably other ones that I'm forgetting on there. I mean, Kang is supposed to be a genius and all this types of things. So the whole thing of like kind of these folks being smart and all that kind of stuff kind of grates on me a little bit or whatever. I will say that at least they've kind of trimmed Riri down to go and actually be a mechanical genius. So maybe that's a little bit better, but just kind of like a little gripe that I actually had in there to kind of it colors a little bit of maybe bias or maybe even what you might even have towards the MCU in this particular series or what have you, things like that. But don't let that stop you, because you got to go ahead and actually really judge everything individually in itself. And in episode 2 in this particular series, there's a mildly entertaining like heist scene that made this better, more entertaining, and actually gives you a little bit more context as far as the personalities and things like that. So I like that. The pacing was so much better in episode 2. The only thing that I would go ahead and actually say episode 2 that really isn't good and really is a thing for various different streaming platforms out there is that it was actually not binge worthy. I mean, they didn't leave you on a cliffhanger where you'd be like, oh man, I got to tune into the next one. So that particular issue in Ironheart in episode 2 was not a given, but at least 2 was an upswing, and there's probably a little bit better of an arc going on there that you could go ahead and actually find this somewhat entertaining. Now, when I talk about the acting in this particular series, it's kind of as I feared, that the young actors weren't great in here. Now, let me say this. A lot of their lines didn't give them a lot to deliver on. So it's kind of hard when you go ahead and actually just have like some stilted dialogue or just dialogue that sounds kind of corny or whatever. But it's your job as an actor to kind of deliver it better, make it better, all that kind of stuff. I will say Lyric Ross is a standout because immediately became more interested in the story when she was added to the mix, and it was more dynamic, more fun, all that kind of good stuff. And then Dominique's character, the main character in Ironheart, she's kind of a hit or miss in her particular scenes on there. When she's talking to Natalie, maybe a couple times with her moms, kind of goes ahead and actually kicks up a little bit. When she's talking to other criminals, there's this one character that she kind of talks to in the second episode, Sky character, that did have some entertainment value to it. So I'll give her credit for going to actually being likable and kind of, giving some more to her particular performance. The rest of the supporting cast is average at best. They didn't do much to add anything to it to make me go and actually feel any more about the series. So for the acting aspect of Ironheart, I'm just going to say that, it's not great. It has its moments, but it isn't great. Other things that I kind of go ahead and actually think about in this particular series are like, obviously adding Marvel lore and adding to that whole mythos and things like that is always something that's interesting if you're a Marvel fan. There is the added aspect of going ahead and actually having vibe for minorities in the MCU. I mean, outside of Black Panther, Miss Marvel, Shang-Chi, there's not a whole lot of movies that are geared towards minority groups. So when you go ahead and actually get a show or film that's dedicated into that realm and how the Marvel universe affects them is actually a vibe in and of itself on there, and it has some worthiness of watching it as long as it's done well. I will go ahead and actually say the things that kind of distracted from this is that I think honestly it suffers from actually being part of the Marvel universe. I almost feel like if this was a show that was uh, created by someone as a separate entity, an independent creator, things like that, one, they wouldn't be beholden to the lore set forth and things like that. Like this is a legacy character for the Iron Man character of kind of like, him and his technology and his intelligence level and things like that. And kind of, what she's going to do in that realm. Is she going to like transcend, the Iron Man suit and all that kind of stuff. And so to that end, there's a certain standard or what have you that kind of hovers over this character that probably makes it a little bit more difficult than what it should be. If this was a standalone independent film about a gifted youngster trying to create this suit from, just with no previous instruction, no previous anything or anything like that, might have a little bit more gravitas that people will probably give it a little bit more forbearance or what have you. So that's what kind of distracts from this, is that it is a Marvel production and there's just certain things that have to be crammed in here. So that's what kind of takes away from this. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and actually feel from my perception and perspective as a target audience member, I'm somewhat entertained by this as long as I get to 2 episodes. This gives you another perspective of kind of like street level heroes and villains. The Natalie character is good and worth the watch. And the heist scene that they have in there are good indicators for what this audience could go ahead and actually feel if this series continues. And so there's some excitement, there's some entertainment value in there. And hopefully the acting gets a little bit better. For people that are casual viewers that you're not the ideal target audience member, I would just go and actually tell you, if you're going to go and actually watch this, you have to give it the first 2. As I have plainly said multiple times in this video on there, it's the second episode that's really worth it. You might even honestly go ahead and actually want to skip that first episode, watch the trailer, and then just get right into the second episode. I was given that suggestion, so I think that actually might be a pretty good indicator of what you want to go and actually do, especially as a casual viewer. Because if you don't have that, you could go ahead and actually be giving yourself like 35 minutes of torture for no reason. But I do think it is worth a watch for you to go ahead and actually do it, because there is some value in this particular show. But that's what I have. Ironheart, now showing on Disney Plus. Check it out.
Might be a hero in there after all.
You stayed with me for this entire episode. I appreciate you. I really do. Let's go ahead and actually do the like, the share, subscribe if you're really liking the channel, all that kind of good stuff. But I won't hold you too long there. I'm just going to actually tell you until the next time. I'll holler at you. Watch one of my other videos here. And until next time, take care of yourself.
Now that's a happy ending. Or is it? Because everything's over now. And all that's left is you and the infinite void.